Something remarkable happened to me recently, and I can't shake the feeling that it was meant for us both. I was strolling past a tiny storefront, not really paying attention, when my eyes caught a small sign tucked in the window. It said, "November blessings are waiting." I froze right there on the sidewalk. A wave of warmth spread through my chest, and I instantly knew this was no coincidence. This message wasn't random. It was meant for me and for you right now. November carries its own sacred rhythm, a frequency most people never tune into because they're tangled in worry. Worry about what's missing, about how quickly the year is closing. But imagine, just for a moment, that right here in this very month, invisible treasures are lined up for you. Miracles handcrafted for your life, waiting for the sound of your voice to bring them into being. What if the words you're about to speak could unleash those blessings like a dam breaking after years of stillness? I'm not talking about wishful thinking or crossing your fingers for fortune. I'm talking about a deeper principle, the unseen mechanism through which all things are formed. It's the eternal law that declares your word is your tool of creation, and what you speak with faith and clarity must appear in your world. And here's the truth as I know it. November isn't just another page turning on the calendar. It's a divine appointment. It's the universe leaning in close, listening, waiting for you to proclaim what already belongs to you in the spiritual dimension. So take a deep breath with me. Let your shoulders fall, let the tension dissolve, and recognize this moment for what it is. You didn't stumble upon this message by mistake. You were guided here because something in you is ready to rise, ready to live differently, ready to command blessings rather than plead for them, ready to realize you're not a victim of events, but the architect of your existence. Most people spend their entire lives muttering fragile prayers into the air, wondering why nothing ever shifts. They ask, they hope, they wait, but they don't command. And there's a profound difference. Asking puts you beneath, begging for approval, trying to earn worthiness. Commanding, however, places you beside the divine, recognizing that you are a co-creator with full spiritual authority. The moment you were born, that authority was woven into you. I once met a woman whose story broke my heart. She'd been struggling financially for years. Every night, she fell to her knees, pleading with God to send money, to save her, to lift her from despair. Yet, no matter how she prayed, her problems deepened. Her words were soaked in fear and lack. Her very prayers affirmed her poverty. I told her something that startled her. Stop pleading and begin declaring. You are a child of infinite abundance, and divine supply already belongs to you. She looked stunned. Command God, she asked. Isn't that wrong? But she misunderstood. We don't command God. We command the law of creation that God established, the spiritual principle that always responds to the vibration of your word. God isn't a distant ruler deciding who deserves favor. God is the source itself, the endless stream of supply flowing through you, waiting for your recognition, waiting for your decree. So she began, nervously at first, to change her language. She replaced, "Please help me," with, "Divine abundance is pouring into my life now. Every bill is handled with ease. Prosperity finds me from seen and unseen places." She spoke these words even when her reality showed the opposite. And then something shifted. About a week later, a company she'd forgotten about called with a freelance opportunity. Temporary, modest, but enough to stabilize her. Some would call it coincidence. She saw it differently. She knew it was the first bridge, proof that her consciousness had begun moving energy. She didn't cling to it as her only hope. She received it with gratitude and kept declaring greater abundance. Within weeks, her workload multiplied. Within months, she had financial security. Within a year, she was earning more than she'd ever imagined. But more than the money changed. Her relationship with it did. She stopped treating money as something fragile that could vanish. She understood that supply was infinite, and that her consciousness was the gateway. Bills stopped frightening her. They became simple reminders that the universe was still circulating energy. She'd glance at one and affirm, "The provision for this already exists." And every single time, it did. Sometimes through predictable channels, sometimes through miracles she couldn't have scripted. That is the creative power of your speech. Your word is not noise, it's a tool of formation. It shapes substance into form. You have authority over your experiences, over your health, your time, your resources, but never over other people, because interference always returns to its sender. Yet within your own domain, your words are the instruments of dominion. The problem is that most people use this power unconsciously, and usually against themselves. Listen to ordinary conversation for a few minutes. I can't afford that. I always get sick this time of year. Nothing ever goes right for me. Each of those sentences is a decree, a command to universal energy to create exactly that scenario. I once had a student tell me, I affirm wealth every morning, but my situation keeps getting worse. So I asked her about the rest of her day. She admitted that after her morning affirmations, she spent the entire day worrying and complaining, speaking lack every other moment. She was planting seeds of prosperity for 10 minutes, and then uprooting them with hours of negative declarations. And she wondered why her garden bore no fruit. It's not enough to affirm abundance once, and then contradict it through fear. Your word must become your dwelling place, something you live inside of. When the evidence of lack shows up, you don't have to deny it exists. You simply refuse to call it your truth. Someone once said to me, "Isn't that just pretending?" No, it's not pretending, it's aligning with the higher truth. When Jesus looked at the blind, he didn't affirm their blindness. He spoke the reality of divine order. Receive your sight. He addressed the truth beneath the appearance, and the physical followed the spiritual command. When you say, I am healed, you're not lying about symptoms. You're declaring the eternal fact that divine wholeness is your natural state. The scripture says, call those things which be not as though they were. That's not denial, it's dominion. I remember another woman whose doctors told her she had an incurable condition. She thanked them for their care, went home and said, that's their report, but God's word says otherwise. Every morning she looked in the mirror and affirmed, I am whole. I am complete. This body reflects divine perfection. Her symptoms didn't disappear overnight, but her awareness shifted. She stopped identifying as sick. She stopped giving the condition power through fear. As her focus moved from illness to divine order, her body followed. A year later, her doctors called it a miracle. She called it the law of spirit finally operating freely. The truth is, every statement you make shapes your next moment. Say, I never catch a break, and your subconscious accepts the order and arranges life accordingly. Say, money never stays with me, and that's exactly what happens. You wouldn't plant thorns and expect roses, yet so many plant words of lack and expect abundance. Your words are seeds. Your life is the field. You are the gardener. I once met a woman drowning in money troubles. She woke every morning saying, I can't hold on to money. It disappears as fast as it comes. And it did. I challenged her to replace that sentence with a new one. Money flows easily to me, and I manage it wisely. She resisted. It felt untrue. But her old words had never helped her either. Within 3 weeks, she received an inheritance she hadn't expected. 2 months later, she was promoted. Her finances turned, not because she forced it, but because she stopped opposing her own prosperity through speech. This is not fantasy, it's spiritual law. It is the architecture of creation itself. Reliable, responsive, and ever-present. Speak your word as truth, live in its vibration, and watch the invisible rearrange itself to reflect your faith. You cannot draw into your life what you keep rejecting in your mind. You can't welcome anything that your inner world constantly pushes away. Spend just one full day listening closely to the way you speak to yourself. Pay attention to the phrases that slip out when things don't go as planned. I never get a break. Luck never finds me. Life is always unfair. I can't seem to move forward. I'm exhausted from struggling again. Each of those lines is a direct order to the deeper intelligence within you, and that inner power always obeys. It doesn't argue, question, or evaluate. It simply says, Your wish is my law. That creative force doesn't analyze your words, it carries them out. It begins shaping invisible energy into visible form, according to what you've declared. This is why awareness of your speech is vital. Not only the words that leave your lips, but also the quiet inner chatter that runs through your thoughts all day. That hidden dialogue issues commands nonstop. I once met a lady who came to me completely worn out, drained, and nearly collapsing from fatigue. She often repeated, "Life is beating me down. Everything feels heavy. I'm completely worn to the bone." I looked at her and said, "Stop giving that instruction." She stared at me, puzzled, thinking she was only describing her life. But I explained, "You're not reporting the truth. You're creating it every time you speak it. Each time you say, 'This is exhausting,' you literally command your body to lose strength and invite more heaviness into your path." She was stunned. She had never realized that her language was designing her reality rather than describing it. Together, we formed a new decree. Boundless energy fills me now. Divine strength upholds me in everything I do. Every task flows with ease and joy. At first, it sounded false to her. Her body still felt tired, her duties unchanged. I told her, "Speak it anyway, especially when it feels least believable. You're not repeating news, you're shaping the story." Within 2 weeks, her vitality returned. Her circumstances stayed the same, but her consciousness transformed, and the creative force, faithful as always, responded to her new command. This is the power you hold, the authority of the spoken decree, the sacred word turned into matter. Here's what many miss: you're already using this ability daily. You're always declaring, commanding, and forming things through your speech. The real question is, what are you commanding? Are you calling in prosperity or limitation, health or weakness, freedom or resistance? Observe your language today. Notice your reaction when something goes wrong. Listen to the way you describe yourself when nobody else is around. Pay attention to what you declare is possible or impossible. Those aren't random remarks. They are divine instructions to the universe and your subconscious. And that power is always tuned in, ready to respond with, "Your word is my command." But most people sabotage their own declarations. They speak faith once and then cancel it all day long. They affirm wealth in the morning and complain about debt before dinner. They speak healing and then recount every ache and pain to their friends. They claim safety, then panic at the first disturbance. You can't plant a seed and keep digging it up to check if it's growing. The farmer trusts the process, plants the seed and lets the soil work. He doesn't hover over the ground saying, "I can't see anything. Maybe it's not working." Your word is the seed, your faith is the earth, and your patience nurtures the harvest. I once guided a woman who desired a new home. She spoke her intention clearly, envisioned herself living there, thanked God for it, yet nothing seemed to happen. Weeks passed, options appeared but didn't fit, and doubt began whispering, "Maybe it's not meant to be." But she had learned persistence. She said firmly, "I won't take back what I've spoken. If God has completed it in spirit, it is already finished." I told her, "Time doesn't exist in the divine realm. What you've affirmed in faith already exists in the unseen world. It's as real there as anything you can touch. Your role is simply to keep your inner channel open until the invisible becomes visible. This process isn't about strain. It's about standing steady in your word until the outer scene mirrors your inner decree." She did, and the house manifested exactly as she pictured, at the perfect time and in a way she couldn't have orchestrated. Most people misunderstand this law. The manifestation happens spiritually long before it shows up physically. By the time the opportunity or check arrives, the invisible mechanism has already completed its work. That woman wasn't lucky. She was aligned. Her clear word set divine law in motion, and universal principle had to fulfill it. That's why it said, "Your word is your wand." Not as poetry, but as spiritual mechanics. You're not pleading or wishing. You're declaring truth into form. A true decree spoken with expectancy rearranges unseen substance to mirror the vibration of your command. Let me clarify something that confuses many. Faith isn't emotion. It's not hype, not enthusiasm, not forced positivity. Faith is quiet assurance without worry. The calm recognition that what you've said already exists in the spiritual field and will appear in material form at the perfect moment. You don't need to feel confident, you just need to know. That knowing grows through practice, by speaking your word once and remaining serene until it unfolds. I once counseled a man who had been out of work for months, frightened and hopeless. Every bill terrified him, every rejection reinforced his despair. He begged for an affirmation or prayer to fix it quickly. I told him, stop treating your words like a trick. Your word is law. Speak it once with conviction and let it go. He couldn't believe it. Once, he asked. But I've been repeating affirmations daily. I explained, every desperate repetition tells the universe you still lack it. That desperation affirms absence. So, I gave him one simple statement. Divine intelligence now directs me to my perfect work, in my perfect way for perfect pay. He was to say it each morning once with trust, and live as though it were already true. 3 days later, a company he'd forgotten about called him back with an offer beyond his expectations. His first reaction wasn't shock. It was realization. Of course. I finally stopped choking the flow. People often confuse surrender with giving up. Surrender isn't abandoning your desires. It's releasing the fear that smothers them. It's letting go of control, of checking constantly to see if your prayer has worked. Real surrender says, I've spoken, I've believed, now I allow it to unfold in divine timing, or something even greater. Here's the hidden part of that. Something better. Sometimes the universe is delivering exactly what you asked for, but your anxiety stands in the doorway refusing the gift. I once worked with a lady desperate to sell her home. Every day she walked through the rooms pleading, trying rituals and prayers, but all soaked in tension. I told her, make peace with staying. She thought I was joking, but she did it. Unpacked boxes, bought a plant, settled into gratitude. Within 3 days, 2 offers appeared. The universe doesn't respond to what you secretly wish. It mirrors what you boldly declare in life as truth. When you stop hedging your bets, stop keeping one foot in the old world while reaching for the new, everything aligns. I've seen it in every arena. The employee who keeps their resume ready, just in case. The partner who stays half open to their ex while claiming commitment. The dreamer who clings to a backup plan while saying they believe in their vision. Divided focus creates divided outcomes. You cannot serve 2 masters. You can't simultaneously prepare for success and failure. Each action is a vote for the future you're building, and the universe tallies every single vote. We've been taught that backup plans equal wisdom, that caution is intelligence, that avoiding disappointment is maturity. But in truth, those are masks for fear, doubt disguised as practicality. The person who swears loyalty while secretly keeping escape routes isn't wise, they're split. The artist who claims devotion to their craft while clinging to a job they despise isn't stable, they're conflicted. And universal law always answers the truth of your energy, not the prettiness of your words. Real commitment asks for courage, to burn your bridges, to move without guarantees, to step into the unknown. It may feel frightening and irrational, but transformation lives on the other side of that leap. Every single day, you're either reaffirming your faith or reinforcing your fear, and the universe is patiently watching to see which one you serve.